Please welcome Mike Kelly as he moderates a panel discussion sponsored by USAA around a holistic integrated approach to promote well-being.
Was that the Macarena? Don't expect us to dance. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. It's great to see so many of you here today. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us at the 11th Annual Warrior Community Integration Symposium. Our panel today is going to focus on promoting well-being through holistic, integrated approaches involving government, private, and nonprofit sectors, really working upstream to address the issue of suicide and preventing veteran suicide. So thank you very much. We've got an esteemed panel today. Very excited for the experts that we have with us, all who can speak very, very knowledgeably and eloquently on this issue. So on the far side down there is Ron Rutherford, who leads the Whole Health Outreach Program at the Department of Veterans Affairs. And of course, everybody knows Jim, CEO of America's Warrior Partnership. We've got Dana Dreckman from the Wounded Warrior Project here today. And then to my right, your left, is Ron Rutherford, Joe Brennan from CEO Avalon Action Alliance. Sorry about that. So we really want to focus on two primary objectives today, two primary goals. So first is understanding the power of health and well-being in working upstream to prevent suicide. And then secondly, exploring how this connected community that we've created here, that Jim has so effectively put together, is how like-minded and passionate advocates can improve health outcomes for our veteran community. So I'm going to jump right in with this, and we're going to start this panel by discussing each of your organizations to improve health outcomes for veterans, and what does that really mean to each of your very unique missions. And that's what I like about this group, is we've got a very diverse group up here. We've got federal government, we've got nonprofits, and all of them are focused on helping the veteran community. So Ron, I'm going to go with you first. The VA Health Administration has made a lot of progress over the years, positive changes. One of the biggest things is your whole health approach. And I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with that until we started this whole process. So I'm excited to hear about how the VA has changed and adapted to improve health outcomes for our nation's veterans. So.
Well, thank you, Mike, and it's awesome to be here to talk to such an awesome group. Well, health outcomes in our country are poor. Despite the U.S. spending far more than any other country, we're not getting the bang for the buck for our money. It's time to create a health system rather than a disease care system, one that empowers and equips our veterans to really discover a new path to their own health and their well-being. So the VA Whole Health Program it's a very simplistic, holistic approach for our veterans. It really puts them in control of their care. They're in the driver's seat. They tell the healthcare team what it is their mission, aspiration, and purpose really is. And we bring the resources that the VA has to help them build their skills, give them the resources to do whatever health goals they have set for themselves. So some of these things that I'm talking about are things like stress reduction, acupuncture, yoga, Tai Chi, biofeedback. How many folks have an Apple Watch or a Fitbit on? You have a biofeedback device on your arm right now. So some of these things that our veterans can really use to reduce their chronic pain. B, help them take less medications. So studies show that veterans who are using the whole health system, they're engaged in our services, they're managing their stress better. They have a 2 to 3 times probability of being more engaged in the psychotherapies that the VA offers 12 months later than those veterans who are not engaged in whole health. They had a 3-fold reduction in opioid use if they're engaged in whole health services. So, these greater improvements in self-care, they come from learning these skills, and they're learning these skills through many different aspects. One of them are health coaches. You can get a health coach in the VA now, and these health coaches are not clinicians. They are folks that they're really that responsibility piece that many of us are missing in our own health goals. They are a veteran meets with a health coach at a regular interval, and that they set for themselves, and they discuss the successes and challenges of those health goals that they've set. So what we're seeing is these veterans who are engaging in these they're seeing better vital signs. They're seeing better lab tests when they come back, on their annual physical. They're having to get less expensive ancillary exams because they're healthier. Okay, they're eating better because they're seeing the nutritionists, our dietitians, and they're learning how to cook better for themselves. So in the last year, we've begun to really introduce a new tool, and it really measures their well-being. And the well-being sign is a very simple it's 3 questions, and it can be used by anyone in the VA, from the medical support assistant that checks them in at their desk to any of our clinicians. And it asks 3 questions. Are you able to participate in the roles and activities that are most important to you? Are you able to function well in those roles and activities? And are you generally satisfied with how things are going for you? So when, depending on what their answers are to those 3 simple questions, we can bring resources to them, and those resources can be done by any level of person in the VA. The whole health system is evolving. We're hiring acupuncturists in the VA. We're hiring yoga therapists. So, and right now, a lot of our care for those can be done on the outside on the community care contract as well.
That is wonderful and amazing results so far. How many veterans have been participating in the program?
It's been a straight vertical line. I don't know a specific number, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
So veterans are very receptive to whole health.
Good. Well, that's wonderful. Thanks. Well, I'm going to shift over to Dana with the Wounded Warrior Project. And you guys have done such a wonderful job working to reduce death by suicide and self-harm. So how does WWP approach suicide prevention from an insulating standpoint?
Great, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here with all of you today. One of the things that Wounded Warrior Project does that we take great pride in is we do approach everything we do from a holistic mindset. So we really get to know those that we are serving, and we have a lot of different types of triage and screening teams that are asking the appropriate questions with the goal of really delivering a personalized experience that gets the right warrior into the right program at the right time. We're all really familiar with the types of risk factors to suicide, such as anxiety, depression, PTSD, but there's a lot of other ones that aren't as talked about. Things like body mass index, lack of sleep, chronic pain, financial hardships, lack of fulfilling careers. And those can all lead and be risk factors. So one of the things that we do in all of our different programs is we look at the programs and services that we deliver as insulators. So for instance, in our social connection programs to decrease loneliness, we bring warriors out to different types of events. We have peer support groups where they're able to get together and talk about like-minded issues with each other, all with the intent of really decreasing that loneliness and isolation. Our physical health and wellness programs really have been focusing on sleep and chronic pain and nutrition value. We do that through a lot of one-on-one coaching that we offer through those coaches, where a lot of it can be done virtually, where we are bringing them into different types of cohorts to talk about nutritional education, ways that they can reduce their pain and increase the sleep quality that they're experiencing. Our mental health programs really kind of do a lot of things and address different aspects of mental health, but we do that through outdoor rehabilitation events and also just some one-on-one counseling that we have available with some of our partners. Financial wellness and our career readiness, we really focus on debt management. We can focus on different types of financial education. And then obviously we work with warriors that are interested in getting getting employed. We will help with resume building and interview skills, and then really connecting them to opportunities within the realm that they're looking to improve. And so we really take the proactive approach of really trying to help develop those protective factors that they can then lean on and depend on when kind of the times get tough, so that they have something to fall back on.
That's wonderful. The theme of just that holistic approach, right? Of, not any one thing. It's a number of things that can contribute to that. Thank you. So Joe, Avalon's integrated care model is something that I want to explore now. And it provides a personalized support to each unique veteran. So how does your alliance work to get out in front of that and stay upstream to prevent suicide?
Thanks, Mike. First of all, how many of you are familiar with Avalon? All right, fair amount. So Avalon, the genesis to start Avalon was to really help with veteran care through philanthropy, and then the focus being 3 major causes of suicide, being chronic, mild TBI. So if you have concussion issues that last more than 6 months, you have anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress, and substance abuse. The belief was these 3 are very intertwined. Very rarely do you have 1 and not 2, and oftentimes 3. And talking to our clinicians on the TBI side, if someone is not working up to their baseline after 6 months, anxiety and depression comes with it. So the idea was to really attack these 3 head on, often give people more than 1 program to go to. So for example, our TBI program, if you have a TBI and get diagnosed, which is a win right there, and you go to any healthcare system, you're typically going to get 4 occupational therapy appointments, or 6 occupational therapy, 6 physical therapy, 6 behavioral health, and 6 speech language. Over the course of 18 months, you're going to have maybe 24 appointments. During that time, you still have your same job struggles, any family struggles, you're still on medication, you still have everything going on normally in your life. You drive to your appointments, the clinicians don't talk to each other. Oftentimes they change. You continue to tell your story over and over. So what our model does, it brings someone in for a 3-day assessment. The whole care team, the integrated care team, is involved. As a unit, they make a decision if they think you're the right candidate. You tell your story once, you come back, and in a 3-week period, with people that do nothing but treat TBI, you have the equivalent of 100 to 120 clinical hours of care. Clinical, I should say, and non-clinical. So you're getting that PT, you're getting the OT, you're getting the speech, behavioral health, you're getting equine therapy, or as they call it in the South, critter therapy. You're getting art therapy. And the first time I walked in an art therapy room, I broke out in a cold sweat. I maxed out at finger painting. So a lot of veterans, when they go in, don't want to do that. That's continually ranked the highest thing in the care. It's unbelievable what art therapists can see with people's work. It's a great healing environment. Also, we've been accused, the TBI centers have been accused of bugging rooms, because after someone has an appointment, the person who's just in there goes and talks to the next person, so they know if someone just had a tough appointment or if there was a breakthrough. It's unbelievable how they work together. And I asked one neurologist, how do you know when someone's ready to leave? And he's like, the therapist will tell me. I've never heard a comment like that from a doctor in my life. On the post-traumatic stress side, if you're familiar with post-traumatic growth, that's the model. Every story of struggle can lead to a journey of growth, or don't let a good struggle go to waste. And the idea is everyone's going to have issues, right? Jason talked about the X, right? Get off the X. If you're prepared for the X, as he was, you have a much greater chance of surviving. Having 3 children that went through college, I wish they could have taken one of these programs in high school, because everyone has issues, right? So how do you prepare yourself, and how do you move through it as you have it? And then we have substance abuse at a facility that does nothing but veterans and first responders. It's led by a former Tier 1 Army retiree, and just the passion he has. He's very understated, and he goes, this is my life's mission. I'm going to do this till the day I die. And then we have all 3 of those. We work together as Avalon to really make sure if someone has one of the issues, we get them to the other care they need.
I love that, the health and healing. And all of these leaders up here, their organizations are focused on that. So Jim, I'm going to come to you next. The Symposium happens every year now in its 11th year, bringing together organizations from around the country and you challenge us all to learn from each other. Yesterday we had a pre-conference session, and you highlighted the mission of connecting, educating, advocating, and collaborating. And I absolutely love that. So I love seeing the collective impact of this team and this connected military community that you've created. So can you tell us a little bit about AWP's initiatives and programs that move down to the individual warrior level and work to improve their quality of life and help them in that suicide prevention space?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So we really have 3 levels of action. We have 5 communities that are branches, and branches, the employees are employees of America's Warrior Partnership. They live in those communities. I'll use Jesse Lakin as an example. He's from Alaska. He knows Alaska. He's our lead in Alaska. And he builds a team there. We have the Permian Basin. We have the Navajo Nation of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Panhandle of Florida. So those are community integration programs that are branches. We're fortunate to have affiliates like Charlie Hall here from Upstate Warrior Solution, from the Warrior Alliance. We have Tierney Center for Veteran Services, and we have Veteran One-Stop Center of Western New York. So their affiliates is more like we provide technical assistance. They're nonprofits that run themselves. But the point about those are direct services. And to get to connect, educate, advocate, and collaborate, the focus for our branches is to go out and find and build a relationship with all the veterans in the community. And in the early days, we worked with WWP, and one of our measures was, our actions was to enroll those who we wanted to get enrolled to enroll those that were eligible in WWP, because they provide 22 free programs if you're a post 9/11 disabled veteran. So why wouldn't you join, right? And I'm telling you this because in Buffalo, we enrolled so many people in Buffalo in 1 year that it threw off their hiring plans and their structure, because we went out, built a relationship and said, here's the resources that you have. In addition to WWP, it was, how do we get you connected to the VA? So the average community has about 54% of the veterans are enrolled in the VA. In the communities that we work with, it's close to 86%. It's free. Why would you not enroll? And the time to enroll in the VA is not in a crisis. The time to enroll in the VA is when you don't have a crisis. People say, well, why should I do that? Well, the formulary, when you get to be my age and my wife's age, the formulary in the VA is different than DOD, TRICARE, is different than Medicare. So you find the free medicine maybe in the VA, prescribed by the Department of Defense, filled by the VA, good formula. Anyways. At the community level, the focus is find the vets, build a relationship with them ahead of the crisis, educate them about opportunities that are in your community to improve their quality of life, advocate for them when they hit a roadblock. Just don't advocate to advocate, but when they hit a roadblock, stand on somebody's desk and say, you said you were going to do this, now you need to do it. And because it's really tough as a veteran, it's tough to advocate for yourself. As a human being, it's tough to speak up for yourself. It's easier if somebody else steps in with you and you get somebody next to you. You get better outcomes. You're not talking about for me, somebody else is talking about for them. Anyways. And then the last piece is collaborate. And it's collaborate with everybody who has a program. Yesterday, if you'll remember, the Cone Clinic in Alaska said, when we have a partner and they don't deliver, we don't go back to them, right? And I clapped. Because that's what needs to happen. If you're a partner and you say you're going to do something, well, you know what? You better do it, because the veteran's dependent on it. And so collect, educate, advocate, and collaborate. That's at the community level. At the national level, the network is focused on really connecting with communities. We want to build communities. We have county veteran service officers that refer people to us. We refer people back. It's a bi-directional relationship. We refer to Avalon Action Alliance, we refer to WWP, we refer to the VA, we refer to everybody. We take referrals in from everybody. And it's really, the intent of the network is to connect, educate about opportunities and the value of veterans, advocate when there's a barrier, and it's a lot of the time it's advocating at a national level, and then collaborating. And then the third level that we do is really strategic, and it informs our practice, which is Operation Deep Dive. And it's Duke University partner with us to look at the goal, the outcome of Operation Deep Dive is to identify and characterize the veteran in a community that's at greatest risk. So if I look at Atlanta and I look at the hot spots where there are veterans who are taking their lives historically, and I look at the type of veterans that are doing that, and I say, the veteran who's at greatest risk looks like this person, has this background, has this nationality, has this gender, has this age, go find them now, before they take their life, and let's get ahead of it. And so, but to do that, and so informing the practice, everything we do is holistic and integrated. I'm a nurse by trade. I know that there isn't a single hammer for every single nail. While I do believe that you show me a nail, I got a hammer for it. But the point is that there's a whole group of people that have hammers, and if we all work together, we can drive that nail in. And it takes, I hate to steal a phrase, but it takes a village. It takes all of us working together. The last thing I just want to say is, I've worked in this space for 20 years, and I've experienced veterans who will jump, will hop from program to program, and they may go to Avalon, and they'll go through the program, and then they'll hop to another program, and that becomes their career. And at some point, somebody's got to say, so, whoa, wait a minute, what are we doing? This isn't a good outcome. This isn't a profession. Somebody said, I've got to go to another doctor's appointment. I got this. I said, you need a new hobby. And so the point is that I think by working together, we can better serve the person and the veteran and their family to have an outcome. But
Super. All right, now you're each going to get this same question, all right? So we all know that we're stronger together. We know the theory and the concept of collective impact of organizations that gather for this annual event. And it's one of our favorite programs to support because we see the value of bringing everybody together. And it just goes back to your theme. Together we can do better, right? We're stronger together as a team rather than as individuals bringing our own hammer, right? So how are your organizations collaborating with other organizations to do better? We heard from Jim, you guys are doing a great job. So Joe, tell us how you guys are working with other organizations in this space to bring about change to do better.
Okay, thank you. So we are very aggressive on outreach because we want to identify as many people that go through our programs as possible. We're part of the Bush Veteran Wellness Alliance. We're working more and more with Wounded Warriors since we've really got going in the last year and a half. We have a great outreach. Greg Fry, who's here, I think just about everybody knows Greg. He is very tied in and has done a great job really helping us drive awareness. So we want to work with people because our goal is the same, is to get the veteran better. And the ideal outcome for us is to someday put ourselves out of business where we don't have to exist anymore. So that's our ultimate goal long term. Just real quick, I did want to touch on a couple things I didn't talk about with prevention. So one of the challenges of our TBI care is 3 weeks. So people who've just transitioned out of the military, it's hard to tell your employer you need 3 weeks. So we're really trying to get people before they transition out. So in the last year of service. That way they're emotionally, cognitively stronger to get a good job, to have a successful transition. On the post-traumatic growth side, we have a program called Struggle Well, which is a classroom version. So that's actually being rolled out to active duty military, so they understand post-traumatic growth. It's critical that we catch people as soon as possible or train people as soon as possible. And Ken Falk, who really started the organization of Boulder Crest, he said, hey, the ideal would be, as I mentioned before, get to people when they're in high school and continue to train on it so people are prepared when they do have a challenge. And back to outreach, if we haven't talked to you, please talk to us. We'd love to meet everybody in the room, love to know more about what you do, and then we could talk about what we do and who's the right kind of candidate for us to see.
That's the great thing about these events is so many people that you meet lead to more conversations and more opportunity and more connectedness. So Dana, tell us a little bit about how you guys collaborate. And WWP is everywhere. I've got very dear friends of mine who have worked for WWP, and I knew Michael Lennington very well. So tell us how you guys work to make a difference in that connected community.
Yes, sure. So obviously work very closely with the three groups up here on the stage, as well as some of that were the groups that were up here earlier today. But we really do believe that we can't do it alone. And I think we all do have the same goal when you talk about improving quality of life and preventing suicide for the veteran community. Not only do we partner with some of the groups here today, but we do have partnerships with 4 academic medical centers where we offer an accelerated PTSD, MST, and TBI program in trying to get accelerated care as quickly as possible to them to see some really significant impacts there. We have a lot of partners that we partner with in the financial realm as well, so that they're providing some of those services to our veterans in terms of those budget plannings and being able to help them with some debt management and some debt relief on that side. But really, it's across the space. So we are always looking for what aren't we doing well, and who can we find that can help us do that better, that we can make that referral to, because ultimately it really truly is just about the warrior.
I love that, working with others to make the magic happen. Jim, I'm limiting you to 1 minute on this because you're so well connected, but
Yeah, no,
give us the high points.
Well, I think the high point is that one of the things that gets in the way of a lot of the work we do in the nonprofit world and in the with government and non-government is ego. If you're in it for yourself, you're in it for the wrong reason. And so we work with partners, and I love working with partners who it's not about them. It's not about their organization. It's not about themselves. I always say, if you talk to a nonprofit or a government agency and they see these are our vets, I go, oh, they're not our vets. They're not your vets. They're the nation's, right? They're veterans. So I think, really quick, I just think that the key is to recognize what you do really well and recognize what you don't do well, and look for a partner who can help fill that gap. And we hope that at America's Warrior Partnership with a network that we can plug and play and connect people together, connect organizations together. But thanks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Was that fast enough?
That was good. That was very good. So Ron, today's VA is not my dad's VA or even my VA when I was active duty. You guys have done such a great job of strengthening that community, strengthening the resources. Tell us a little bit about how deeply you guys are connected in this space and how you work to build those relationships. And I can lend you my mic if you need it.
Test.
Yeah, that worked.
We're good. Well, Mike, the VA realized a long time ago that we're not the big white castle on the hill, that our veterans are stronger because we're collaborating with our community partners. Our veterans get many of their services. They live in their communities. They worship in their communities. And they get many of the things that they need from the organizations in their community. So, I have the best job in the VA. I get to collaborate with all the organizations, veteran service organizations, to really talk about VA whole health and what the benefit is for our veterans. I get to educate, provide resources, and these resources are free. I mean, we're the VA. You can go on our website, and I think we've got the shortest website name for a government organization. You just Google VA Whole Health, and we're the first thing that comes up. There's a myriad of resources on there that the general public can use. You don't have to be a veteran to use it.
Awesome. Hey, by the way, I'm going to just jump in. Yesterday, I got a call from a friend who needed acupuncture, and I referred him to the VA through Ron. Nice. And he called me this morning. He said they already called me back. I got an appointment. So
awesome. Good
thank
to
you.
hear.
That's the beauty of this community, right? So that's wonderful. So Jim, your organization focuses on partnering with communities to prevent veteran suicide. In your experience, and you've been doing this for a long time, what are the most significant challenges that local VSOs face in providing that upstream preventive care?
Yeah, it's knowing the vets. I think, the VA serves about 50% of the vets. When you look at the big 6 VSOs, they're not as big as they used to be. Veterans right now, 70% of the veterans in the United States are in the workforce. And so if you want to engage a veteran in your community that has a family, they've got soccer practice, they've got other things going on in their life, and they just don't have the time for, just in their life, it's how do you connect to them? And I think companies are a big piece of this. And we have a corporate veteran initiative really to connect to veterans who are in the workforce, to let them know that there's an opportunity, whether it's volunteer opportunities or whether it's service opportunities. But the biggest barrier, I think, is that we, as a nation, we don't know 9 million of our vets. They live amongst us, but do we know them? Do they know us? What drives me is that you meet a veteran and they're in crisis, and you look at it and you go, if I just known you 6 months ago, you wouldn't be in this position, and we could take care of it pretty easily, move forward. You wouldn't have jeopardized your life for other, had I known you. And they say, or you get somebody and you say, I wish I had met you I wish I had come to you before. I just didn't know you were there. And I think as a nation, we should be saying, I see Scott Johnson out here. Every veteran in Atlanta should know about the Warrior Lens, and they should all go to it. Same with Veteran Bridge Home. They should all know about it. But honestly, most grants and most funding doesn't pay for marketing budgets. They pay for service. But the problem is I can't serve those I don't know. So I'm just saying that the biggest barrier that we have is not capacity. It's the ability to market to veterans to say, here's one place you could go, and that know that you deliver. And the last thing I'll say is there are some nonprofits that aren't delivering. And if one veteran goes to that nonprofit and they don't deliver, they'll never go back. And then you're then coupled into what their reputation is. So anyways, it's tough. It's tough.
Very good. Dana, you guys at WWP have so many robust programs, 22, I think you mentioned, right, Jim, programs that they've got to impact the Warriors, truly impactful resources that are making a difference. So what lessons have you learned at WWP that can be applied to improve those health outcomes for veterans?
I think one of the biggest lessons we've learned is a lot of times when warriors come to us, they think they know what they want or what they need, and after talking to them, we discover that it's something different. And I'll use an example that actually just happened to us last week. A group of us were doing a service project with another nonprofit, a veteran nonprofit in Jacksonville, and we were on a bus that was taking us from one of their sites to another site, and we were all kind of talking amongst ourselves, and the driver said, "Hey folks, can I have your attention?" And we said, "Yes." And he said, "So I'm an alumni of Wounded Warrior Project." He said, "And I just have to say that I would not be driving this bus today if it weren't for all of you." And we all kind of said, "Oh gosh, well, tell us your story." And he told us the story of how he came to Wounded Warrior Project just thinking that he was looking for connection. He was looking for other veterans like himself. And he said after talking, he went out on a couple of events with our social connection team, which is exactly what that's intended to do. He started to realize that maybe there was more that he needed. And one of our teammates was talking to him and asking him some questions and realized that he was truly struggling with his mental health. And he was able to connect him with some of our mental health teams. He went through a couple of our mental health programs and then started to feel a lot better and said, "You know what? I really think I'm ready to get back into the workplace." And we were able to work with him, and he is now employed by another veteran nonprofit that's in town, and he's helping other veterans, but he's also a peer support leader in town. And so for us, we talk all the time about the logo that Wounded Warrior Project uses of one warrior carrying another warrior, and that we really do try to take the warrior that's on the top and make him the warrior on the bottom, he or she the warrior on the bottom. And this gentleman that day really proved to all of us that that's exactly what happened. And this was somebody who just came to us looking for connection and community. And I think that if we didn't have the right types of systems in place where we're asking questions and digging in to what their needs truly are, we can't get them the help that they need, and then they don't come back, like you said, because they don't think that whatever you're offering can help them. So it's just really important to keep asking the questions. We use motivational interviewing where we say, okay, so why are you doing that? What is making you do that? What do you think the triggers are for you? And we really get to the root of the bottom of what the veteran is dealing with, and then can make the appropriate recommendation, whether that's internal to Wounded Warrior Project or to one of our partners.
I think that's wonderful, and Jim highlighted the fact that we need to get to know the individual, right? So that individual driver, it took some motivation on his part to seek the help, but then him sharing that story and how you guys helped him, I think, is very important. So Joe, at the Alliance, you guys connect veterans with life-changing care. We heard about the number of clinical hours of support that they receive. What are some key outcomes or success stories from your programs that highlight the impact of these intervention approaches?
Yes, thank you. Could tell stories all day about people that have gone through the program. So I could start with TBI. A gentleman was, he was a SOAR pilot, so Special Forces helicopter pilot. He was in a staff job in 04, right outside the green zone, roadside bomb, killed everyone except for him. TBI issues, some other musculoskeletal things that he got repaired. And then he retired 3 years later. And he had been looking for the right care for 19 years. He had migraines, he had vestibular issues with balance. He couldn't put his finger on exactly what it was. And he goes, every time I get a migraine, I go for healthcare, I'd get the drug cocktail. And he just couldn't find the right place to go. And his wife, who was his advocate, right? The caregiver's often the advocate. It's really try and get to the caregivers. She found out about our center in Jacksonville, the Haley Brain Wellness Center, and he went there. He was there for 3 weeks. He called me and he goes, the care was seamless. I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. Why was it seamless? And just the change they made. They were never able to go on vacation. He had lost his relationship with his kids. He didn't know his grandkids. Their world was very small. And he said after this, his wife told us, hey, we go on vacation. We go on vacation with the kids and the grandkids. And the grandchild was in a jumpy house, and the grandfather, John, got in the jumpy house, and his son looked at his wife, John's wife, and said, hey, my father could be a real grandfather now. And now all he does is talk to veterans about the care he received. So it's a great story. We heard, Jason brought up a story today about a Navy medic with the Fleet Marine Force, and the same thing happened. I went through Warrior Path, our program, and a guy I really connected with had been in the Army for 4 years, and then he was a cop in Northern California, a sheriff. So he had 70 miles, basically, was his closest colleague. So he had to do everything on his own. School shootings, he had seen so much, and he came upon an accident, and it was his best friend's son was in the car. Same issue, he couldn't get him out. He watched his best friend's son burn to death. And for over 10 years, he couldn't sleep at night because he pictured his own sons in the same situation. He couldn't get past that. And he came through Warrior Path, and he just learned some practices, and he changed during the course of a week, where he slept through the night for the first time in over 10 years. And, he's a great story of success. You go through this program with 7 or 8 other people, you form a bond, you have a community, you stay in touch almost every day via text. And since he was there, he's lost over 50 pounds. He was able to go back to his, he had so much bitterness, he didn't want to go back to the community where he served. He's able to go back to that. Now he's trying to help others. He's becoming a peer mentor in the VA. He's just really engaged with life again. And he has rekindled his relationship with his sons. And he couldn't get past that his son had a nose ring, and somehow he's able to get past that now and has a relationship with him. So, as you guys all know, there's great stories of success when people get in the right programs and get the right diagnosis and get the right opportunity. And they're much more willing to go through it when they can go through with other people that have served in the military as well.
So true, the right programs at the right time for that individual's needs, right? So I want to finish up this line of questioning with Ron, and tell us a little bit about the main components of the whole health outreach program, and how do those contribute to helping prevent veteran suicide?
Well, let me be very clear. VA Whole Health is not suicide prevention. I mean, if we have a veteran that's at that point, they need to get the first line of defense is the veteran crisis line. They need to dial 988 and then push 1. So a study came out, and along the lines of connection, which Dana was talking about, a study came out in 2019 that was published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, about the association between life or life purpose and mortality. The study had almost 7,000 people in it, and it concluded that a stronger purpose in life is associated with decreased mortality. So purposeful living may have better health benefits. What VA Whole Health is focused on is finding out what our veterans' mission, their aspiration, and their purpose is, and tailoring their health care around it. The clinical healthcare team's goals for a VA patient may be vastly different than what that veteran's goals are for themselves. Somewhere we need to meet in the middle with that veteran and figure out what those shared goals are. So everybody's been telling a story about a veteran. I'm going to tell one too. Tammy is a Navy veteran she found new meaning in her life through Whole Health. Tammy was a Navy officer who, it happens too often. Her career was cut short prematurely. And she found herself really struggling to find that next path that, many of us that served in the military know what that feels like. And she was suddenly out of the service, and she felt lost. So Tammy had in fact called the Veteran Crisis Line. She had gotten to that deep, dark place, and she was given the immediate support she needed through the Veteran Crisis Line. And she felt comfortable talking to the folks. She talked to her provider at the VA, and it was right here at the DC VA Medical Center. And her primary care provider referred her to VA Whole Health. And she started to practice yoga, meditation, and then she really started to discover what mattered to her in her life. She began to find out what her mission, her aspiration, and her purpose was after the military. I mean, veterans, active duty know everything is about the mission. We train for the mission. We're outfitted for the mission. But for a veteran, after they leave the service, they struggle finding out what that next mission is. So she's quoted as saying, "I'm not ashamed to say I was in a really bad place. This program and the hope it gave me, it really saved my life." She's since retired from her job, and she's moved to Atlanta to be closer to her daughter and her grandson. She's spoken several times at our events about her how she says VA Whole Health really saved her life. So her story is on our website too, and lots of great veteran stories on there. Encourage you to go on there and read Tammy's story.
Wonderful. Well, listen, I don't know about you, but this has been such a powerful and impactful team up here. So let's give them a hand real quick, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Great discussion. Obvious the work at your organizations is having a significant impact, and we love that. So we want to take a couple of questions from the audience. I see mics up here. I don't know if there's any towards the back, but if anybody has questions for our panelists today, please come up and let us know who you are, where you work, and ask your question. Any takers? No takers?
No.
Come on, Blake.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate everyone's comments. Really great. Ron, this goes to you.
Wait, who are you and where do you work?
Oh, roger that. Sorry.
I know who you are, but not everybody.
Yes, sir. Blake Bourne, the Executive Director of Veterans Bridge Home in the Carolinas. Ron, this goes to you about the Whole Health Program. We have an amazing relationship with Dr. Christina Vare and the Whole Health Program there. And my understanding is they were one of the first to roll out, right? It's sort of a phased approach. Can you talk about what sets programs like Dr. Vare's apart and where you see success? Because she's incredibly collaborative in the community.
I know Christina well.
Yeah.
So you're talking the Salisbury Durham VA, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, Salisbury.
Yeah. So Durham, or Salisbury rather, was one of 18 pilot sites where we initially we took whole health and we put it on steroids. We fully staffed the VAs at those 18 sites around the country, and we funded them, we staffed them, and we gathered so much data, so much research data from those 18 sites across the country, of which Christina's site was one of them. And that pilot is over, but in every VA across the country, instead of only 18, now have whole health, dedicated whole health staffs. We're hiring acupuncturists, health coaches, and we've got over 100,000 VA employees who have been trained in VA whole health. They know the lingo. They know, they know how to change the conversation with our veterans. Instead of asking, not asking what's the matter with you, but what matters to you. How can we get to the healthcare goals that you want to set for yourself? Well, I hope so. I hope veterans are enrolling in the VA because of VA whole health. I don't know if I have seen any quantitative data of how many veterans whole health has brought in individually, but I hope it's a lot. I don't know if we collect data that way. I know I don't know if we got our SVA person here, but at that event every year, I love talking to the younger veterans who go to that event every year, and they love whole health. They love the fact that they can get some of this complementary and integrative health that some of them have been paying out of their pocket for, and many of them weren't using VA, but I think I've convinced quite a few of them to give the VA a try.
I want to highlight something that Ron said. Not what's the matter with you, but what matters to you. I think that's significant. I like that. I'm keeping that in my hip pocket for the future. That's very, very good. Thanks. Any other questions?
Hi, my name is Christy Colpo. I work for Peraton as a military veteran recruiting strategist. I'm also a Navy Reservist Commander 05. I just have a quick question for you regarding career counseling in general, right? So one of the things I've been looking for is connecting with career counselors that help veterans actually figure out what they want to do, which is totally different than career coaching. So I have a master's in counseling as well, and one of the things that we look to do is run things like career interest inventories, like strong interest inventory, your personality tests, things like that, MBTI, if you've heard of that, right? So all of these things coming together to help them find something that they can be passionate about and love, instead of just finding a job and then ending up being their future being defined by their past, right? So to show experience, but if you've been stuck in a job that you didn't like in the first place, and now your future is defined because your experience says that you're X, right? So do we have any resources that you're familiar with for career counseling?
We do career counseling, not to the extent of getting down to personality, but that is a part of our career financial readiness programming, where we are really taking the time with that individual veteran to ask them, what are you looking to do? Why are you looking to do it? What are your skill sets that you have? Our team works very closely with them to translate their military experience into civilian language so that they can see how their experience does translate. But we don't have anything regarding, really like the personality, other than just the questions and the conversations and trying to get to know the veteran themselves.
And for us, we refer out, we look to partners. So ACP, Hiring Our Heroes, we look to partners who are experts at it, with the goal of, because I think you'd agree that employment just isn't it. I have arguments with the Department of Labor all the time that employment, and I say employment, housing, education, family, spiritual, it's a holistic approach to it. Yes, employment's important, but for us, we would work with our national partners, but at the community level, I know that our community groups work with the local communities And, we have such a terrible relationship with Peraton that we work with you too.
I'll reinforce what Jim said about ACP, American Corporate Partners. Is Wendy still here from ACP? So really incredible program. We supported it at USAA. I'm a mentor and have been for about 10 years now. Now, you're not going to have the same certified counseling, but what you are getting are personal stories and experience and direction from people who have lived it. Another platform out there is Veterati, completely different model. With ACP, you're assigned to somebody for a year, and they try to align you to someone common career field, common rank. Veterati is you can go out there and find someone in any organization who is willing to talk with you to walk through that experience. So two really good platforms that I think help to address that.
But I would say what you're doing, what you're talking about, if others aren't doing it, you should share it and say, we need to do this, right?
And a lot of those resources are free. I mean, there's the MBTI, there's the Anagram as another example of where you find out your personality traits and how you communicate best, but most of those are free resources. Did I see Blake was up there again?
If it's not too obnoxious, sir, yes.
Yeah.
All good, go.
Go Army. Dana, this question for you. I appreciate your comments on the protective factors, specifically social capital. Can you talk a little bit about, Wounded Warrior Project has been doing that, encouraging that for a long time. And I think it's finally getting the recognition of like how important, and a lot of this comes from whole health and the protective factor of social isolation so that people's long-term health is much better. Can you talk about how you guys are measuring that, like qualitatively by, if Blake goes to these events, how that changes over time and where you've seen success?
Yes, so we have a whole program that's dedicated to that with the whole intent of just getting warriors out to different types of events, whether it's a ball game, whether it's dinner, whether it's a family event. One of the ways that we measure it, honestly, is just by attendance. How many are actually signing up versus showing up, and what that means. We're looking at the number of times that they are attending those events, and then we are beginning to look at what is their journey through Wounded Warrior Project look like after that. So are they getting into any of our other programs after, because now they've gotten kind of accomplished that one goal of getting themselves out of the house and connected. Those are just a few of the pieces that we look at. In terms of from an isolation perspective, we also look at the number of new and unique warriors that are coming into those programs, so that we're not serving the same one over and over again. So that gives us a good range. And then one of our kind of overall impacts is we really just ask the basic question of to what extent did Wounded Warrior Project impact your quality of life? And we're looking to see, that's a newer measure that we've just been measuring for the last couple of 3 quarters or so. And we're starting to look at that attribution in terms of, are our programs just improving your quality of life? Because quality of life can mean very different things to very different people. And for some, it may just be getting out of the house, while others is like, I just want to lose weight and that will improve my quality of life. So that's another one of the measures that we're currently using to measure some of that.
Great, thanks. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but I saw there was going to be some additional questions. Feel free to reach out to any of us, find us afterwards, but we're going to go ahead and move on. It's clear that an integrated, holistic approach to this is important. That's how we're going to find success. And one of the things I want to highlight, because the next breakout session, I'm going to have Babs Chase up here with me to talk about USAA's work in the Face the Fight Coalition, which is designed to reduce veteran suicide. So we have nearly 200 organizations now part of the coalition, many of them part of this august panel. So we all know that the realities of veteran suicide are very shocking, so we need to continue to work in that space. And thank you all for the work that you do to address that, from a whole health initiative to connecting with veterans and understanding them and providing the resources that they need in their time of need. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll be back out here in a minute.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.